my God, I've done it again. I really need to sort this camera framing out. I hate it when things don't go right. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yes, it's Sunday night. It's time for another live stream. Tonight, we're going to be talking about this. I have it. That's not even working. That. Yeah, there you go. Now you can see it. Yes, we're going to talk about Protos and the journey so far, which has been interesting. We are going to talk about the DJI ban because it might not be game over yet. Let's just wait. Calm down. It's not looking good, but let's just wait for it to happen because it isn't clear. I still think there will be a last-minute reprieve. I still think that something will happen the last minute. And I meant to try and find something before this stream, but I didn't get a chance. We are going to talk about this because it has arrived. And I don't think this is under NDA, which is the FlySky PA01. I literally have had 10 seconds with this earlier. And I'm going to say now, I like what I felt on this earlier as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about this. While we're talking about remote controllers, we probably should talk about this as well. And we're going to talk about everything else I wrote in the doc. Prusa Core 1L, interesting. And a few other things as we get through. Now, before I do that, I just want to give you guys a little bit of an update on the Express ELRS situation because I didn't get a chance to do this last week. I wasn't feeling very well and I didn't cover everything I wanted to, but the Express ELRS dev team have put out an update on the situation with their trademarks. Now, I'm just going to go to the desktop and it's here, and I'm not going to read through the whole thing. But I do just want to highlight that there is an update by Mr. Varty, Captain Incense Sticks himself. I've been away, so I'm in normal here tonight. Good news. The unauthorized trademark applications are gradually being rejected, and Express ELRS LLC, remember, they had to set up a company, is making significant progress in protecting their project's identity worldwide. So, first of all, that is great news. China application, the unauthorized China trademark application has been rejected outright. So it's gone. The Chinese one is game over. United States application. Following our cease and desist letter sent on October the 2nd, 2025, the attorney representing the unauthorized trademark application has withdrawn from the case entirely. This means that if the US Patent and Trademark Office find any reason to reject the application, the applicant will have to navigate the process without legal representation. It's quite a biggie that the person doing it on their behalf, so the patent person, the trademark person, whatever he is, has walked away, which tells you a lot in itself. The domain name expressrs.dev that was registered on the 27th of August has been taken down, and basically their global trademark protection efforts are being filed in the US, EU, UK, Canada, Australia, and China. That's the most regions. Now, they do go on to talk about the money a little bit, which has been really important in this. Trademark registration is expensive. Their current filings have cost in excess of $7,500. So this person has wasted $7,500 of your money because it's money we all help donate to the project. It's my money, your money, I donated, and I don't mean that nasty, but what I mean is this, it's the community. This person has wasted $7,500 of the community's money when they simply could have gone, hey, you might want to fix this. Further to that, since publishing their blog and threats they donate. The donations they've received from everyone has been over 20,000. Now that 7,500 isn't over. There's more for them to spend yet. But what's great in this is the donations have covered the issue, which is good for the project. But it isn't game over at 7,500. It is going to cost more than that. It probably won't be far off the 20 grand, I bet, in the end. But the good news is everyone stepped up, which is amazing. Oh, another 2.5 grand, $2 grand in legal fees. So that's 9.5 grand before you start. So it's blown through half of it. And they may need more legal support to get it done. But look, the good news is it looks, the dire situation is less dire now. So good news. And they then go on to talk about what happens next in the short term, long term, and then the thank yous at the bottom. So look, it's really good news. The fact the community stepped up so much, and at times people don't like this word. Well, what is the community? Who is the community? This is the community. The community is everyone who got involved with this. You know. So look, I just wanted to share it that there is good news, just not for DJI. Now, whilst I mention DJI, obviously there are two things at play here. We have the countdown towards the 24th of December, which is where if DJI haven't been certified, checked, passed an audit, whatever we want to call it, it's passed an audit. It's not just being audited, it's passing an audit as well. They will end up on the entities list, which will then mean basically their products will not allowed to be brought into the US through FCC certification. This week, though, there was a big move in the US, and we'd already heard this was coming. And this big move is the FCC having the ability to retrospectively withdraw FCC compliance. And that's interesting because this is the first time there's a path for saying, hey, we registered, we certified this some time ago, but now we've decided that that certification no longer is right and we're going to withdraw it. And at that point, it actually makes the existing product illegal to use in US RF airspace. When I say airspace, I'm talking about RF airspace. Now, what is interesting about this is the first time we've really seen the FCC being weaponized. So FCC is quite simple about, does the product meet the legislative requirements to be safe to use in US radio airspace? It's not about the company, it's about the product. And what I mean by that is this: where does it transmit? Does it follow the rules and regulations within the band it's transmitting? So if it's in the license-free area, does it meet all of the requirements as set out by the FCC to operate in that area? It's not about the company. It's not about politics. It's about, does the radio in this physically behave in a way which meets the certification requirement? And all FCC products, like DJI's, the ones that pass FCC, are tested in an independent lab. So the products have already passed their legal requirements. So to withdraw that, they are going to have to say one of a few things. Either the product was falsely certified, because certification is somewhat self-managed. We all know how that went for VW, because you pay someone to certify it on your behalf, but those places are licensed to perform the certification for you. But it is still somewhat self-managed. You know, the FCC don't take the product and test everyone themselves. Or they're going to have to come up with a bloody good reason to withdraw it. And this is uncharted waters. If they do, if two things happen. If DJI get banned, and it's still an if, and I still think, honestly, it's not looking good, whilst my logical head says it'll probably happen, my suspicious head is there will be a 12-month reprieve. And let's see what happens. But the way the current administration keeps flip-flopping, I still think you could see a 12-month reprieve. And if that is the case, it'll all push forward another year. And then I reckon it'll happen again. And then I reckon it'll happen again. Just, I think with the talks right now, I think you will, I am suspicious there will be I like the drones. I saved the drones. And as I said in that video, I think there will be a reprieve. If there isn't, the ban will happen. As for this retrospective thing, completely uncharted water. I don't know what mechanism they're going to use to withdraw it, unless it's security. So, it isn't game over yet. I know there are a lot of people running around saying, you know, should I go and buy Avatar? Should I do this? Don't do anything today. Today is the time to wait. Stock isn't great anyway. Today is the time to wait and see what happens. Because we're not in a position to fully grasp it. And as I've said, I am highly suspicious of a last-minute reprieve. And whilst I've joked about the Golden Mavic, for those who haven't seen, I talked about this in a video. And, you know, there is a solution to this. There is a very simple solution to this. And that solution is this. I've talked about this before. This is the very simple way all of this gets solved. A nice delivery. And something will get fixed. I wonder how many cheers in a ballroom that can buy. Oh, it's got to be solid. Oh, yes, absolutely. I still think this will, this something along these lines will happen. But we're into uncharted water. You know, look, this makes me laugh. On my video, there's guys going, you don't understand. This is all Skydio. This ain't Skydio now. For those who don't know, Trump Jr. has a $4 million investment in Unusual Machines. If you remember, Unusual Machines was the spin-off company from Red Cat. So, don't be fooled into thinking this is all Skydio puppetry bullshit. No. This is now much more serious than Skydio might have helped lay the path here, but this is far more complicated or non-complicated. than that. But yeah, look, don't panic is my wording. Let's just wait and see. Now, obviously, DJI are still releasing new products, but they are changing how they do things. And this is incredible, because if you go to DJI.com in the UK, even in the UK, there be nothing. However, if you go to DJI China, and if we search for DJI Neo 2, the DJI Neo 2 has launched. If we go down and go China, and if we go DJI Mount, tune into the DJI store. Okay, just take me back there. There we go. The DJI Neo 2 has launched in China already. This is completely unprecedented. They have never done this before. First time we now have a brand new product launched in China. We even now have the full technical details. We have the features, the capabilities, everything. And there is one big feature that has been spotted missing from the DJI Neo 2, and that is the fact that the Neo 2 cannot fly Acro or manual mode. When you go through the instructions, even with the FPV Remote 3, you can no longer use manual mode. There is no manual mode option. Now, thinking about this, and I never clicked on this even when I saw the images, it actually makes sense when you think about the fact that it's got a 2-axis gimbal now. An Acro would probably end up breaking it, because remember, on the single-axis gimbal, it's pivoted from each side. So when you go on this thing, when we look at the Neo, it's pivoted, protected on either side, so it can't twist. If this has to have a single pivot point at the back, there is then the potential for it being damaged and getting ripped off. And I suspect this is the reason DJI have removed Acro mode. The Neo 2 is very much a go after the likes of the Hover Air Pro Max. This isn't a replacement Neo as such. This drone, do you know what this drone reminded me of? I don't know how long many of you have been around. I don't know if I'll find this video. DJI futuristic flying drone video. DJI released a video years ago, right? And I don't know if I can find this. It was official, I will add. And it was the future of what's possible. Something like this. The future of... And it was a drone that was sort of flying between trees and everything. Now, this is years ago. And I mean, 2018, 2017, maybe. And honestly, it feels like we've got there with the Neo now. I don't know if I'm going to find it. It's that old. I don't know how we'll find it. Because we're just getting bloody marketing. Should we try? It should be on YouTube. Oh, yo, it's 2015. Second one down. Is it this? Is it this? I'm going to mute the sound. Now, I remember this coming out. No, I don't think it's this one. This is just an advert. Yeah, no, this... It's not this one. video's oldest. It was like a made-up video showing it flying through the woods and stuff, and it was quite cool. And honestly, the Neo somewhat made me think this is it. I'm just trying to get down to where we started to get into real times. God, how long? You forget how long DJI have been around. Look at all their videos that go back this far. They've left them all up as well. And it was about a drone flying through the woods and... Oh, no, not the Phantom 1. It was a Phantom. It was called a Phantom, and it was quite cool. I remember these times. This is when DJI was really exciting. There was such cool stuff going on. They did some cool stuff as well. They like sponsored people to go into Chernobyl and stuff like this. DJI did some great stuff. Honestly, there is I know why they got where they are. It's incredible when you think about it. This, let's just have a look at this. No, wasn't this. No, wasn't that one. Oh God, have I lost where I was? Oh God, I don't think I'm gonna find it. I'll have to try and dig that one out because this it was about a Phantom, it was. Ha! Found it! Phantom X concept. Got it. 9 years ago. Right? 9 years ago. Let's see how much of this you can do today. You can do that now. You can't do that.
DJI is really about empowering young people like myself and inspiring people to create art in everyday life.
I think DJI is allowing people to find their own creativity, to find their way to understand the world around them.
Things that weren't possible even 2 years ago now are possible.
The Phantom X and the innovations in it are really empowering filmmakers and giving them the ability to do things they've never been able to do before.
So imagine having a copter like the Phantom X, technology from the future.
Today I was biking through the woods really fast. The Phantom X was following me and dodging trees and ducking under branches.
It's a tree
You can't walk
now.
around today and not see someone taking a selfie. And selfies are everywhere. With the Phantom X concept, I can take a selfie and not think about it.
As a filmmaker, multicam is
The Neo
really
2
cool.
is a
Gives
lot
you
of
the ability
this.
to use your watch or your tablet.
They still haven't
sync
done the
up
watch.
multiple drones. If we were tracking a mountain biker, they could have a drone, and all four will
All
give us
this.
angles and shots that we could have never gotten.
You can do it with OcuSync.
As a creator, that's an amazing tool to be able to tell a story.
Whether they're a friend or a stranger that you really appreciate the talents of, you can send them a request to follow them.
The tracking stuff we can do now.
One of the coolest features of the Phantom X is the sky paint feature. You can paint in the sky. And what
I
better
remember
way
this.
is there to
No,
express
it wasn't.
yourself and
It
be
was
creative.
it wasn't a drone. It was a marketing video to talk about where DJI might see
You
the
know what's
future.
exciting? It's the future.
But what I'm
that's
intrigued
what
at is
the
how much we
DJI
can now
Phantom
do.
X brings to us.
You can basically do that.
You can approach this device
All of the
as
tracking
a
stuff
tool
we've
for
got now.
creativity rather than a new technology that you have to learn the details of and read a manual to figure out.
It's really not just about technology. It's really a lifestyle.
It was an interesting thing. I remember that coming out. And truth is, the Neo is probably as close to this as they've now got. They really have. I think this is close. But what it is a big departure from this. You know, the Neo 2 is very much the Hover X Pro Max equivalent. Everything about this is now about following selfie drone. This isn't really about an FPV drone. The only thing I'm really dubious about on this, DJI Neo 2 video. Where's the, how much on this? So Drone Camps shows this. I don't know if it's anywhere else, but I'm going to play Drone Camps' video. I'm going to mute him because I don't know if he's got anything. Justin, nice to see you thing. I want to see how much they show that looks like Acro. I'm intrigued because I haven't really watched this video. So someone told me they were showing it diving down a cliff, which isn't easy to do if you're not in Acro. So none. Oh, that's not diving though. That's probably just flying down. Doesn't that remind you of what they showed on that other video? It's quite funny. Do they show anything here that looks like Acro is what I want to know. So it's doing the following stuff. They really are after going after hover here. Really are after going after hover here. But again, this is like that video. It really is. You can see why they're pushing it not to have the built-in OcuSync because you're using the control features. I haven't seen anything like running down the cliffs yet. Oh. That's suspicious. I think they're pushing the boundaries is what I would say. Thanks, Justin. I don't think it's a £1,500 drone, is it? What is the DJI Neo? I've lost the page. DJI Neo 2 China. It's not 1,500 quid. It's not even available in the UK yet, so... Now, I don't know what the equivalent is. It is a little bit dearer than the Neo. When I was looking, the Neo was 1,200 yen, was it? The original Neo? So when we go to the Neo, where's the Neo? DJI Neo, have they got the original Neo? So the original Neo is 1299. So it's 1499. So it's not, you know, what's 1299 in... Let's go yen to US dollars. Anyone know how much a Neo is in the US? Not Japanese yen, Chinese. Yuan. How much is the Neo in the US? 120? I think it's more than 120, wasn't it? 200. Yeah, so look, that's not 182. Is the equivalent, and then 1499 is 210. So yeah, it's been on offer, but it's a little bit more, but it's not crazy money more. It is incredibly cheap in comparison to the Hover. The Hovers are nice drones, but they're quite expensive. So yeah, look, it's out. If you want to buy one, it exists. I haven't decided if I'm gonna get one in to tear down when it launches. I'd be tempted just to get in the OcuSync module. I want to see the OcuSync module. But do you have to add the OcuSync module to use RC3? Yes. So, to use the Neo 2 with anything except your phone, you've got to have the OcuSync module. So, if you want to use it with the RCN3, the FPV Remote 3, or goggles, you have to get the OcuSync module. You can only use it on your phone if you don't have the... or manual controls via the drone itself. Yeah, and look, but again, the drone isn't designed for acro mode. If you look at what DJI are marketing this for now, this is not a Neo FPV drone replacement. This is, you know, I always labeled this the Avata Mini, because it really is an Avata Mini. DJI have stepped away from that now. That drone is not an Avata Mini. That drone is something new. This is over. The current Neo is gone as a little lunar FPV drone. That now is about having a selfie drone. Look at how much of that video was about following you, tracking you, and stuff like that. Content and influence for Avata, yeah. DJI have completely moved the Neo to a different segment instantly. We saw the Neo as a cool little learning FPV drone with DJI's nice little features. And it really was an Avata Mini. Whereas that is something else. The Neo 1 in manual mode feels like a pig compared to the Avata 2. Yeah, they're different drones. Look, there's no question about that. Different power levels. But it was a great way to get into FPV. Just need to fix the Neo flyaway issues. I haven't seen any flyaway issues. Mine's been fine. I've thrown mine through some stuff. My kids have used mine. I've not had any problems. I think people misjudge the GPS's capability, but I haven't really seen any major issues. I think people misunderstand the GPS on the Neo. It's not a patch antenna. It's a different type of antennas. You got to make sure. Mostly used with the RCN3. I think more of a freak out. I think you've got to take into account with a drone like this that allows people to get into problem. I've always been quite clear. There are no flyaway issues. Flyaway issues don't exist anymore. What exists is people's misunderstanding of the drone doing what it's intended to do. Flyaway issues don't exist. The drones don't fly away by themselves. What they do is what they're intended to do, and what people don't understand is what it should be doing. So take an example. If they've taken off from near a vehicle and the compass is all to crap, the drone isn't going to behave properly. It's going to go into TBE and flip its lid. That isn't a flyaway issue. That is the drone being used in the wrong scenario. So what you have to look at is a flyaway is a completely uncontrolled, uncommanded set of actions from the aircraft. That is a flyaway. Have you tried to flight the drone when it was drifting? Yeah, look, I can fly in manual Acro. I've flown TBE probably more than 99% of people. I spent years testing TBE on DJI drones and counteracting it. I have videos showing TBE on Phantoms and all of those days. GPS is complicated. The antenna on this is not a patch antenna. It is a more standardized thing antenna, and it isn't using U-blocks. It's using Chinese cheap chipset. If there's flyaway is a tunnel TB, tunnel bore. Oh, what did the E stand for? You get tunnel bore syndrome basically when the compass doesn't know which way it's fighting and the aircraft starts just going completely uncontrolled. I've not seen anything specific on the Neo. The Neo is an Avata too. It's the same aircraft. Electronically, it's identical. Electronically, it's absolutely identical, apart from the GPS. But an aircraft dropping from GPS to normal mode, I've looked at hundreds of logs as well, and I think probably for every 50 logs you look at a flyaway, you might see one. The rest of it is the difference between the aircraft doing what the pilot expected it to do and the aircraft doing what it was intended to do. And most often it happens at takeoff, especially when people have been up new buildings where it hasn't got good HDOP, where it hasn't had a good compass signal. And like if you take HDOP issues as an example, what you will get is it thinks it's one place. You take off, move it into good view of the satellites, and it suddenly thinks it's somewhere else, and it tries to correct itself. That is a big one with lower quality GPS. Now, is the aircraft actually doing anything wrong? Technically, no. It's technically correct. It had one set of bearings on the ground, and it has another set of bearings in the air, and then it's decided, and it's then trying to go, well, which one's real? Because it doesn't know. And this is often the problem with sensors, and it's one of the reasons if you take Ardra went to the 3 EKF route. If you go to multiple EKFs, you then have at least an option of going, well, I've got 3 reference points of data. What do I listen to? 2 are the same, 1 isn't. I'm going to go with the 2 are the same. Or you have like GPS blending. And GPS blending was a great way to solve GPS HDOP issues, especially where you have dual GPS modules where you start sitting there going, right, we take off and then one GPS module shifts. So you then look at the other one and go, well, has that shifted? Yes or no? And if it hasn't, and then you blend the data and then you come up with a set of reference points. Because here's the bit people always miss with these drones. It doesn't know what is right and what is wrong. And this stands for every sensor in your aircraft, whether it be an FPV drone, whether it be anything. Its only point of reference is takeoff. It doesn't know what is correct. So if anything happens after the point of takeoff, then this is where things get really murky. And as an example, I used to do a lot of testing on GPS and TBS issues when I helped DJI on Mavics. And one of the real clear issues would be aircraft takes off, your compass then shifts. So you've taken off on the ground, concrete, with his rebar. Okay, great example. You move up and then suddenly the compass detects a yaw shift of, say, 90 degrees. However, the gyro hasn't detected a yaw shift in the aircraft of 90 degrees. So then you're left with a compass that's shifted and a gyro that hasn't. So in theory, you can take the gyro data as the offset. Because if you've gone up and the gyro hasn't detected a yaw, yet the compass has yawed 90 degrees, then in theory, your compass data is no longer valid. However, how do you know the gyro is right? You don't. You're going to assume the gyro is right, but you don't actually know. And the biggest problem with all sensors always is the point of reference, because the only point of reference is the ground. That's the only point you've got of where was the gyro, where was the compass. GPS is different, but the problem with GPS is if you have high HDOP but good sat count, and again, everyone looks at sat count. Sat count is a complete misdemeanor because it really just means how many people are shouting at you. It doesn't mean that you can actually hear what any of them are saying. And that is always the term I use for sat count versus HDOP. If you're in a room full of people and there are 20 people shouting at you, that's your sat count. Your HDOP is how many of the conversations you can actually hear and how many of them you can actually listen to. And that is the fundamental difference between HDOP and sat count, because you can have 20 people shouting at you, but if you can't understand a word of them, which any of them are saying, then it's a pointless. I still find, I'm not saying flyaways don't happen. They generally do. I would put bets of 90 to 95% of flyaways are not flyaways. They are simply the difference between the aircraft doing what it is intended to do and the aircraft doing what they thought it should do, especially when things go wrong. And I said, I used to look at logs for DJI. So one of the things I used to do when I actually helped DJI was looking at flight logs of users who've had problems. And it's rare. There's always an explainable reason. Always an explainable reason. No, I never got paid. No, I never got paid. I don't know. But it's, yeah, look, what I will say about the Neo 2 is that it's a very, very different drone. And I don't know what DJI are going to do next, because moving on for DJI, we've got the Avata 3 seems a while out, and we got the 360, which is meant to come before Christmas. Remember, we've only got like 8 weeks before Christmas. 8 weeks is not a long time. And in theory, 360 drone. No, you can't quite fly it in the air. You can with Betaflight, but I don't think you can with the DJIs. But, yeah, we'll have to see what happens with the 360, because there's still no news from Insta. They're still advertising, I will add. I don't know if you've seen it. The adverts for the Insta, I'll send you a flyaway video. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. What I'm going to say is, if there are 10,000 posts on Reddit about it, I'll believe 1% of them are genuine. Because I can guarantee if you show the logs of everyone, you'll start to unpick user versus aircraft. User versus aircraft. Start then looking at takeoff locations, material type, ground, rebar. You start digging into it, you will find sources. There will also be quite a very simple reason you will see more flyaways of this than the others, because I suspect, based on the price, DJI have probably sold 10 to 1 of these, at least, to the Avata 2. At least 10 to 1, probably a lot more, probably 20 or 30 to 1. And it is one of DJI's cheapest drones. And as the cheapest drone, for every 100 sold, you're going to have things go wrong. What you can't take is just a number of posts. Because here's a great example. You could have... I used to see this on RC groups all the time. And places like RC groups is where you really start to see this stuff bear out. And that's why I'm always very skeptical, because I've seen this on the support side and the evidence side of what happens. You can have a drone launch and they go, there's only 2 flyaways shown. And then you can have a drone launch and then you see 100 posts of flyaways. But then you have to look at how many were sold. Who is buying them? Who is the average user? Then you cannot judge. There's loads of flyaways. There might be, but that could still be 1% or 0.1% of the millions or thousands or whatever it is have sold, if you get my meaning. Because the same as like an iPhone. You know, if you take an iPhone, people saying iPhones batteries don't last long compared to a Samsung S24. Well, wait a minute. The amount of S24s that are sold are much less than all iPhones in comparison. So again, context is everything. It always is. Our Neo is controlled by a cell phone. No, the Neo can do both, cell phone or DJI remote. The original Neo can do both. The Neo 2. Do I consider the Pavo 360 a flop? Pavo 360. I can't remember which one. What is the Pavo 360? Beta FPV. I can't comment because I've not used it. I can't really say it's a flop, and I can't really say it's anything because I ain't used it. So, look, it's designed to take... Which camera did they make it for? Is it for the... It's for the Insta, yeah. Obviously Insta this week, but it's the SMO 360. So, you know, it's a niche drone with a niche camera capability. That's the problem. It's, you know, it's not, oh, it can take an X5 or it can take a DJI Osmo. It's a niche upon a niche. And no one has done a fully flying filming one. Yeah, and Jake's made a point there. Hello, Jake. I used one of the FPV drones we built for instance ELRS, and when it was fine, it was a pain in the ass. Yeah, you know, how hard is it to get the camera in and out? Have you got to dismantle the drone? You know, so much, you know, here we go. Installation procedure. If you've got to undo a screw, it's game over. And I'm seeing 4 screws. Here we go. Here we go. You need to screw to hold the battery, and it's definitely game over. Okay. Do we need a screw to hold the camera in? I like the little leg. I get it. We all like a little leg flicking up. No, game over. If you got to take it apart to take the camera out, you failed. Game over. That's the problem. It really is that simple. If you've got to take a screwdriver. Is Acro mode not mentioned in the manual for the Neo 2? Is there a possibility? It's not in the manual at all. They don't mention Acro. They specifically state you can only use normal and sport mode with the FPV remote version 3. As for, could they add an update for it? Yes, absolutely. But Chinese users have confirmed as well that there's no Acro mode. It's not just the manual, it's been confirmed by people who actually own it. But that doesn't mean DJI couldn't add it in the future. Could 360 cam be used for object sensing? Yeah. That's almost what they're doing now on DJI and the others and Skydio. They've got a separation between the cameras, but if even on the Neo, it's got a 180 camera on the back and 180 at the bottom. DJI already do most of their front. I know I say all, but they've added LiDAR for night use. But they do a lot of their object sensing through the main camera already. So, yeah. Could Acro be added by an update? Absolutely, but whether DJI will do it or not, I don't know. It is not clear if DJI ever intends to add Acro to that drone. I'm intrigued. It's not there on day one. I wouldn't be shocked if DJI had it in early firmware and removed it either. It is very likely DJI may have added it and removed it as well. I'm not convinced you will get it. If it's not there on launch, I'm suspicious they won't do it because of the gimbal. No, I haven't tried it with AV-Link. I've been away for 4 days, so I've only got back this afternoon. The gimbal could be the cause, yes, because remember, your second axis is just a rotation axis. If you're trying to flip it around, it could rip the gimbal off. The gimbal is a very, very good reason that drone may never have acro mode. Simply because you've only got a single axis holding the back of the gimbal. That's a lot of stress in acro moves. What camera is the most comparable to? It's hard to say because it's still over 1.13 sensor. It sits somewhere like one of the minis now. That gimbal is complicated now. On the Neo 2, you can still access the M mode, but the gimbal will shake. I've received a video from my DJI sales friend. Yeah, well, I know the people I know in China, the sold models do not have acro mode. Whether there's test models with it out there, but the sold models do not have acro mode. Or production, I should say. The people who've gone and bought it. Yeah, look, I wouldn't be shocked if there's test flight of it. Again, I wouldn't even be shocked if it didn't have it in all of the test firmware. That's very DJI. That doesn't surprise me. It's very DJI to launch a product without the features it had. They do it almost every time. In fact, they pull features before final launch. It's not particularly unusual at all. Something I just wanted to look at 1 second. See, in China, now I haven't looked at this yet, the release notes for the DJI Goggles 3 in China show they've added DJI Neo 2 and whatever that is, because I can't translate it. Why is Google Translate not working? Translate to English. We need to copy. So there is definitely I should have guessed what it was going to say. Fixed known issues. Oh, you gotta love DJI. If we go back to DJI Goggles 3 and we change the website, because we need to change it back to UK. God. Come on. Oh, come on. DJI.com. I don't want to go China. I don't want to go China now. How do I change back, DJI? Where are we? Where's the option? There. Finally. DJI Goggles 3. Have they added? I don't think they have. Oh! Have we missed this? That there is actually a firmware update for the Goggles 3? Need to be careful. DJI sneaks out firmware updates. Ah, nothing Pro 4. Anyways, so that's the Neo. 3 days ago, yeah. Because this drone launched quietly, it caught a few of us out. New 2 in the choice menu. I was away as well for this. What's the reason to get a Mini over a Neo 2? One's a filming drone, one isn't. Whilst the Mini can do object tracking, the Neo seems to be more. Mini 5 Pro is still a better drone in every way from a camera drone perspective. I started on time today. Neo 2 as Acro mode, just as with the original Neo, just not fully as FPV. I'm not from the people I'm talking to. No, the cameras are not the same. You'll have to go and look at the DJI spec. There's quite a big difference between them. You can compare them on the DJI DJI China website. You can't compare them in Europe. I doubt it's anything to do with Care. DJI won't care about Care. Care makes DJI money. DJI make money on every Care refresh. Don't worry about that. This is about it'll be about gimbal. It'll be about the gimbal. Or they don't want people do it. The gimbal is a real problem because I don't know how they get around it. The gimbal is a very real potential problem. Unless they've put like a shaft straight through with it clamped on the back, it will get damaged. Yeah, it's never been full acro. You are right on that. The gimbal is always going to be a problem. Because how do you deal with it not ripping itself out of the mount? They got around it on these drones because it's dual mount. It's one either side. It can't move. There's no easy way to do it. Otherwise, because at the moment, the gimbals, if you've ever torn them down, they're basically just glued in. But look, it is what it is. You can fix the gimbal. Yeah, you can fix. It's not about fixing the gimbal. It's about the mounting of the gimbal into the housing. On that second axis at the moment, on all of DJI's existing stuff, it's bonded in. So you'd have to do something to prevent that being a pivot tear-off point, which isn't easy. It's why gimbals have always failed. You know, I've broke a lot of gimbals in my time as well. Right. Say hello to the next generation of CaddX's FPV system. And that is Protos. Now, obviously, this is CaddX's drone. To give you a bit of an idea of this, and really just to give you a bit of a clue on something a minute. Just trying to find something, one moment. Just to give you an idea, that is how far we have gone with this. Oh, there you go, I can lean back. Just to give you an idea, that is the entire Protos laid out there. It's quite okay put together, if I'm honest. I have some concerns on the design in one specific area. This is a problem. This is a real problem, and I think it's really going to be a problem. You could swap it for O4 Lite. There is no reason you couldn't swap it for O4 Lite. It is a proprietary battery, but the way they have designed this canopy, so it's bolted on either side with the camera at the front, there and there, which is fine. And then there are two little screws that go down into the plastic. But here's the issue. All of the pressure on this is on these two screws here. When these get torn out in a crash, you're knackered. And I think CaddX have made a mistake here. These needed to be in plastic, metal bosses in plastic. They're not. They are just screws into plastic, like you see there. Just normal screws into plastic, and they're going to tear out. They are absolutely going to tear out and cause a problem. That is, in my opinion, the #1 design problem on this drone, is that. I have to say the plastic ducts are pretty solid. I have seen someone's broken arm on it already. Overall, there's nothing particularly special about it. You know, when we start talking about things like, 1 second, the AIO. The AIO is interesting, but it's not particularly special. I didn't actually do still images of the AIO. I got video of the AIO, but I didn't actually do still images of it. It's interesting. It looks like they've got their own customized module. Obviously, the things that everyone is interested in is the VTX, and there's a very, very big video coming on that, and there's a lot to discuss on that. And for those who haven't seen it, that is the full VTX. It is a 2S battery. That is the full VTX top. We know what this chipset is now. That is the RF chipset. We know what that is. It's interesting. If you want to know where CaddX's custom chip is, the only custom chip that I've been able to see is probably that bit of plastic there missing off my off my desk pad because there ain't a custom chip on this board. 25.5, yes, it's 25.5. Yeah. Standard UART connection to the VTX. Yeah. Normal UART. This board is not that custom in the sense of there's a USB cable going off. Interesting that both the VTX and the flight controller connect to the USB port. Yeah, it's got optical flow. It looks like something CaddX have made themselves. It looks like one of their boards. So that is the top side of the board with the and then that is the bottom side of the board. Voltage regulators, power amplifier, obviously MIPI interface for camera, power, the RF chipset, which is the Artisan. We already know what this is. The black wire is a USB, yes. That's by Micro Ears. It looked actually very similar. It looked like, when I was looking at it, there wasn't a lot of labeling on it. It looked more like it was CaddX when I looked at the board. But it isn't a big... Yes, it's Artisan. Yes, we've known it. We've known from the beginning, pretty much. We knew it would be. But yes, that's Artisan. That's not. It's also not custom. It's by High Silicon or HI Silicon. That's just a video processing SoC. That's all it is. Video image processing. That is the Artisan. You have to understand. So there's a question there. I don't see a single motive to Go's Ascent if you're already Avatar. Am I missing something? No, you're correct. This is about the future. And I'm not even going to say it's about beginners. Beginners is CaddX's excuse. Wasn't the point to get away from Artisan. That's what people thought the point was. There was never any evidence of that. The truth is, if they wanted to do wireless video, they're still going to have to work with Artisan because they ain't fucking making their own chip. It's basically, look, what you have to understand is the motivation of all of this. It's high silicon. In this, but they don't have to use high silicon. It's just a video. Look, it's an ASIC designed to run Linux and process video and stick it out over USB. It's designed for CCTV, but you got things designed for action cameras. They can all do the same thing. The truth is, there's a ton of cheap chipsets out there, sort of designed for CCTV and action cameras that pretty much all do the same thing. Video, they'll run Linux. They have ISP on board, encoders on board, a bunch of I/O on board. That's basically what they do. This is the very, very interesting bit, which is the new Artisan AR8030. And what you have to understand is all of the motivation behind this. And there's more to this story than even I realised when you start looking at it. Because Artisan, if you go back long enough, Artisan actually used to work with DJI. So Artisan actually helped with Lightbridge. For those who don't know, Artisan have been around a very long time. You go to FPV Wiki, I actually have an article on this. Walk snail is still superior. That's arguable for now. You have to understand, again, it's not as simple as saying walk snail is superior. Walk snail is superior today. It doesn't mean it's the better product. You have to now understand the context of what CaddX are doing. And I understand it. It makes sense. It isn't where they want it to be yet, but there are reasons for that. And I'm going to explain that now. But you have to take a few step backs. This isn't as simple as this is better than that or that is better than that. This and Avatar are actually very different products with very different paths as well. But to understand this, you have to understand the beginning. And the beginning is down here somewhere. Digital FPV history. And you have to go back a long time. So look, this is a board that is in one of the DJI early drones, Phantom 4. And look who's there. Look who is there. Good old Artisan. Artisan used to work with DJI. Lightbridge was largely Artisan based. For those who've been around as long as I have, you remember Lightbridge on the Phantom, Lightbridge standalone, Inspire 1, Phantom 3 series, early Phantom 4 series. Because remember, the Phantom 4 had Lightbridge, the Phantom 4 Pro had Lightbridge, the Phantom 4 Pro version 2 had OcuSync. They actually transitioned. So, Lightbridge was based around Artisan. DJI stopped working with Artisan and migrated to lead core and then into their own chipset. They basically created OcuSync on lead core and then went with their own chipset. Basically. Now, the current crop of Artisan chipsets that Avatar used, which is down here somewhere, so if we get down, here it is, Avatar's using the AR9201. This was Artisan's move after DJI left to create a somewhat equivalent of DJI's OcuSync. But it isn't a true SDR and it is loosely WiMAX based. And this is what CaddX are using in Avatar today. This chipset has some big ARM cores to run the OS. It has video processing ISP. It has the modem, the baseband, and it handles all of that. It isn't full SDR, but it somewhat is. The term that's been used to me, and I'm not an expert on that side of it. So CaddX had built Artisan around this. They built Avatar around this Artisan core, which was based on what Artisan call AR Link Gen 2. Okay? Anyway, Artisan buggered off making this, and then they buggered off and started doing a load of AI-based chipsets. And the reason they did that, and they actually have an article on this in China, which I found was quite interesting. They went off and did this because they'd lost the DJI money, and they basically went into the AR side of things. And the AR stuff, AI had replaced the lost revenue from losing DJI. And when you sort of look at Artisan, they almost took their eye off the ball on the wireless stuff. Or at least they did it, but they didn't do that much with it. Okay? This is what it was. This is where it is. Main chipset. This chipset has some very basic AI features, they say, but it's all nonsense. But their newer stuff was all about AI. However, they have now circled back around and created what they're calling AR Link version 4. We go to the Artisan website. Wait a second. Let's go on this one. If you go on their website, they talk about AI chipsets a lot on their website. But if you go onto the AR Link series, they've sort of come back around and now created this, which is the AR Link version Gen, whatever we want to call it, 4, based around the AR803X series. Okay? This is Artisan's latest radio chip, but it's actually a lot different from the 9201. It is not an SDR. It is not really even programmable as such. It's a fixed function RF chipset. It's got an interesting feature that is both the baseband, modem, and MUX all in one. But it isn't as flexible as the previous chipset Avatar used from a customization perspective. It has been specifically designed to be an RF chipset to deliver a task, and that's what it's doing. It has a wide bandwidth, 150 megs to 7 gigahertz, up to 160 megabytes a second. It has a RISC-V core available in some versions. It supports multiple different modes. It can do point-to-point, mesh, as well as sharing modes they talk about in some of the literature, where it can hand the link over to different things. But the thing to understand about this chipset is it's somewhat fixed function. That's the key to this, but it is the latest generation from Artisan. So, what CaddX have now done is paired that chip with their choice of video imaging processor. You now have, just like DJI 04, one chipset doing camera ISP, video, encoding, OS. And then it hands it off to the AR chipset, which handles all of the RF. On paper, there is no reason this chipset is not capable of a lot more from a performance perspective than Avatar is today. But the key to understand around it is it has to be developed. It is new. It is fixed function in theory, and I'm saying in theory, this chipset could give us Avatar 2. CaddX just need to pair it with a better image processor. You've got to take into account the image processor they've put into this doesn't even have onboard DVR. It doesn't bother. But they could pair it to a smartphone chipset. They could put whatever chipset they want to, more processing capability, more, all of that. It's all doable. What we don't know yet is how far CaddX can push this. Now, here's the risk. Artisan have baked this in the oven. It's done. It's not programmable as such. It's not an SDR like the chipset in Avatar. So, if this has been built in such a way that doesn't offer a great option for low latency FPV, then they're stuffed. They can't change it. It's not an SDR. It's not programmable. Don't get me wrong. There are tweaks that can be done, but it isn't quite as programmable as the AR9201. Now, here is an interesting comment that was made by Junus to me. This chipset cannot be made capable to work with Avatar. But you could, in theory, and I'm going to say in theory, make the Artisan Avatar chipset work with this VTX. Which, in theory, means you could make the Goggles X work with this. But that's theory. And I'm not even saying CaddX could even do that. It would be at Artisan's level to be able to do that. So, what this is a new start. I completely get the breaking compatibility. I actually have no problem with the breaking compatibility. I never have. My issue was with bullshit comments about we're going to offer this that they don't do. I also wouldn't have had a problem if CaddX said you can have an upgrade board for $50 less than a new set of goggles. They never promised it was going to be cheap, and they never promised it was going to be viable. What they promised is they were going to make an upgrade board. My problem is not delivering on what you say. They didn't say they're going to make an upgrade board for $99. So if they'd have charged you $500 for it, you can't really complain because they said they were going to make it. Now, is this the future for CaddX? Probably yes. The chances are it's going to take some time. And the truth is we don't know how really capable this is yet. It's their latest gen. It's Gen 4. It's Artisan's. This is Artisan's latest greatest chipset for their RF, but it isn't a full SDR. It has been specifically designed for drone use. It has been specifically designed to be lower power, less customizable. It is an ASIC. It is an ASIC in the general term of an application-specific processor, whereas the AR9201 was more of an SDR. So here is an example. CaddX might have got the 9201 in Avatar and gone, oh, this is great, but we don't like how this works for the FPV system. Artisan could have gone away, tweaked the SDR, come back and gone, how's that now? And they've gone, oh, that's brilliant. You can't do that with this. This is done. This is baked. This is finished. So this is the unknowns. What can be done with this? This is the drone that went black and white, yeah. But they've taken that functionality away. Will it get any more than 100 milliwatts of power? Yeah, they could do. The power amplifier. That's just the PA. They can choose what. So this is more like minimum viable product. Yeah, I guess. Look, it's the beginning of... It's an entire new platform. So we have to now wait and see what CaddX can do with it. What we really don't know, and here is a real truth in all of this, we don't know how much optimization Artisan did in this, right, to give them what we've got in Avatar. And we don't know if any of that optimization has been baked into the AR9 8030 series. We don't know. That AR Protos seems a bit lackluster. Yeah, I was flying the Protos this week. I have a Protos with it in. I have been testing it. I had a couple of random dropouts, but I don't know. Is that the... Look, all we don't know is the implementation versus the chipset. We CaddX are talking about certain things like lower cost, lower power consumption. All of that makes sense because this is a... Where is it? I've lost it. Where's Artisan gone? There. This is a fixed function chipset. It's designed to be lower power consumption, not RF power. Don't mix up RF power. RF power is based on the PA, not this chipset. Has no bearing on this chipset. RF power is simply what they choose to bang on the end here. It is lower power consumption. It is fixed function. What we're going to have to see is where CaddX can tune this. So when they're talking about lower power consumption, this is, I will guess, and we don't know the pricing, okay? You have to understand, Artisan do not sell to the general public. So you can't get pricing on these chipsets. You will have to sign your life away to even get them to talk to you. And that's if they want to talk to you. They won't even talk. You could go to Artisan today and say, I want to get into FPV, and they won't even sell you the chipset. They'll just say, sorry, we've got a partner already. We're not interested. I haven't done the latency testing yet. That is coming up in my testing this week. I had a bit of an incident today, which held me back from a bunch of things. So this is potential. What we don't know is what the potential is. But the real thing to understanding this is, whereas CaddX were limited before in what they could do on the old chipset based on Artisan, now they're limited in silicon. Because it's baked. It's done. It's there. It's in place. Because it's a hard-baked system. You can't... It's not an SDR. It's baked in. Whatever you can tweak within it, great. But the hardware is baked. Now, I'm not really worried about things like latency. That should be fine. This chipset communicates over USB with the main chipset. DJI do that on 04 as well. what question is, what is the advantage over OpenIPC? That's quite an easy one. OpenIPC is a replacement firmware for cameras. OpenIPC is not an FPV system. OpenIPC is basically the firmware on this chip. That's all it is. Now, if you think about it, this chip has firmware which is Linux, camera encoding, and the video processing. That's what's on here. OpenIPC plus WFBNG. WFBNG is basically the interface between this and the Wi-Fi adapter. It's the driver, but and in OpenIPC, this chipset is the Wi-Fi adapter. As far as I can tell, the high silicon is very low power compared to Sigma Master. Yeah, maybe high silicon is holding it back. Yeah, look, this VTX is entirely designed to be low cost and low power. They've chosen 100 milliwatts of RF power only, so they're keeping the heat down on the VTX. And they've chosen what appears to be a cheap, low power SoC. That's all choice. What they could do here is build a baller of a VTX, right? And swap this out for a Qualcomm Gen 8. I don't know, you know, what's the if they could buy it from Qualcomm, let's say, they could actually swap that out for, you know, what's the big Qualcomm one? I can't remember the number on it now. And have a baller of a VTX and then shove a bunch of big PAs on the bottom of this, pushing out 2 watts, and go, here you go, we're going to give you, yeah, MediaTek. MediaTek's a great example. Bang on a baller of a MediaTek SoC, bang on 2 or 3 watts of RF power, and then go, there you go, send it to the moon. That's all possible. I will openly say this. What CaddX have done here makes sense. We don't know pricing, and I was saying about this earlier, because Artisan won't work with anyone. But this is going to be infinitely cheaper than buying this, because this is a really expensive SoC, which is almost an SDR. I can understand why CaddX is saying this is expensive. It probably is expensive to buy. They've got them by the balls. Artisan are probably going, yeah, you can have the 9201, but it's going to cost you $40 a chip. Or $50 a chip. Or $60 a chip. Or $70 a chip. You can have this, but it's going to cost you $70 a chip. Or you can have our new RF front end only, which we can bang out for much cheaper for $8 a chip. How do we know they aren't making some for CaddX? What, these? I think it's unlikely this is customized too much. The packaging is aligned with what we've seen in other products. It might be tweaked, but it's still an AR8030. We know it's an 8030. Yeah, look, and look, but you've got to take into account, CaddX buying this, their volumes are minuscule compared to the market. The one big problem CaddX would have had with Artisan, and this is a very fair problem, and it's not CaddX's fault. These chipsets were designed to be used in all sorts of things. They're used in CCTV cameras, they're used in customized wireless links, they're used in all sorts. What they're not really used in, though, are products that have been expected to be sold and compatible over 5 to 6 years. So a brand might have made a load of wireless CCTV cameras based on these chipsets. But that doesn't mean they've got to keep putting them in them for the next 5 years. Once they've done a batch and it's sold out, it's gone. FPV requires, we want this over the next 3 to 4 to 5 years. And that's not necessarily the market Artisan are used to working in. It just isn't. So there could be loads of people using these chipsets and they've just gone, oh, it's not available now, or we're going to charge more for it. And they'll just go, we'll move on to something else. We'll use something different. We'll We'll do this. We'll do that. Because remember, because this could do Wi-Fi. So this is the problem. You know, look, this I can easily imagine is not cheap. And if CaddX are one of the sole suppliers, don't be shocked if Artisan had walked in and gone, oh, by the way, your next batch, you're going to be $60 a chip instead of $40 a chip. And CaddX are sitting there going, shit, what are we going to do? Problem is, they don't own the system. But Avatar is only software. Avatar's not software. Avatar is a combination of software and hardware. But it is based loosely on an SDR, which means they had a lot more control in this chip than they will have in this. But that isn't to say this hasn't been baked perfectly for what we want to do. What I'm guessing is CaddX are still trying to tweak this to get what they need from it. Is what I suspect. My suspicion is CaddX have, not Avatar, but Artisan have CaddX by the balls. Oh, absolutely. But then again, Artisan have everyone by the balls. Because there is no one else. And this is, Jonas made me laugh. Jonas, his exact words were, in the end, it was always going to be this because there is no one else. CaddX would have provided the spec to suit their needs. Yes, but Artisan already make the 8 series chipset. So the chipset's baked. Now, could there be the odd tweak? Not according to what I found so far. Everything I found is that it's an 80-30. It's a straightforward 80-30. That isn't to say it hasn't necessarily been tweaked. And here's the truthful, right? Avatar's been around since 2019. Okay, I'm going to add something. CaddX have said it's a custom chip. I'm calling bullshit on that comment. Okay? It is an Artisan 80-30. That is a high silicon. I'm calling bullshit on the custom. Would I be shocked? And this is where wordplay is. Artisan launched this in 2023, roughly. 2023, 2024. CaddX started working with Artisan in 2019, I think it was, wasn't it? No. When did Artisan work? 2020, 2021? Not custom made to CaddX's spec. But can I imagine Artisan saying to CaddX, hey, we're going to make this new chipset. Tell us what you would like in it. And CaddX would say, oh, well, we could do with this. We want what we're doing here. And they go, okay, we'll see what we can do. Now, technically, CaddX can sit there and say, we had input into that. Artisan are selling the 803 series. Could the high silicon be a custom one? No. Unlikely. Very unlikely. If you're going to go custom, it is on this. It is entirely on this. Couldn't DJI make a custom? Could CaddX have had some input into it? Potentially. I am calling bullshit, though, on its custom chip. But I'll be honest, even their own wording is calling bullshit on it. Because when you read CaddX's own wording, right, they're actually almost admitting it themselves. In those images they shared, right, the other day, they're basically contradicting themselves. Where's their Q&A? Here we go. Where is it? I read it and I was like, the two systems are built on different chips and architectures. I would entirely agree with that. 100% I agree with that. They're a different chipset, different architecture, making them inherently incompatible. I reckon with enough work, Artisan could probably get the new one, old one to work with the new one, but we'll take them on that. Where is it they're saying? It's not that bit. Ah, here we go. The Ascent HD system chipset was independently designed by CaddX as an industrial-grade HD FPV solution and is already used in that sector under different product names and industry-specific solutions. Is it, though? That I take umbrage with. I don't believe that. I call that bullshit, is what I call that. It exists in the industry. Yes, it absolutely exists in the industry. For instance, here's a picture of the chipset inside the Protos. Because I've torn one down. Wrong folder. But do I believe... Can I imagine CaddX might have had a little bit of input? Yes. Industrial security cameras. Say hello to the AR820803 series inside the Protos. Recognize this, anyone? Remind you of anything? Now, these numbers down here may not match. We don't know what their numbering system is. We don't have an understanding of what Artisan are putting in their numbering. There are a few variants of the 8 series. Even Artisans say there's an 8030. We know of an 80. I know of an 8032. So there are some variants. They actually say there is a version with and without additional PNAND on board. I think it was PNAND on board. There's a version with and without PNAND. So there are a couple of internal variants of it within Artisan themselves. But yes, there is the 8032, in fact, inside the Protos. So we know what it is. We know what the chipset is now. And I actually think we have to give them some time. I will be critical of CaddX for where they lie. I will be critical of CaddX, as I will any brand, for where they talk bullshit, where they don't do what they say they're going to do. But I also understand where they are with this. Could this be Avatar 2 in a year's time when they've dialed it in with some big Media Logic SoC? Absolutely. They've already said an Ascent GT is coming, right? They've already said that. I don't know about the encoder. I can't comment on the encoder. Could be H.264, could be H.265. I don't know. That's internal to CaddX. We don't know. I can't comment on what I don't know. This is, they've already said there's an Ascent GT coming. They'll probably swap that out for some bigger chipset. Just note, they're not using the high silicon in the goggles. In the goggles, they're using an Artisan chipset for both. They're actually using an Artisan on both sides. So the goggles side, they're using Artisan. But yeah, look, it's a beginning. Give them time. Let's see where it ends up. Where CaddX are fucking stupid is not keeping the promises they made. That's the stupidity. That's the VTX. I believe CaddX is going to launch this as a standalone. Weight-wise, just for those, and I'll give you a hint now for those who are interested. Weight-wise, it comes in, I think I had it in at... What did I have it at on the scales? Let's have a look. So the VTX with the wiring and everything you see there, 6.6 grams. So with the gummies on, the wiring without the antenna, with the USB wiring, you're talking, and camera, 6.6 grams. So, pretty good. They might be able to get the weight down on that a little bit. There's nothing particularly special about the Whoop board. I did weigh the Whoop board. 8 grams, I think it is for the... Yeah, 8.8 grams. Yeah, and it's still 60 frames a second. And I suspect that 60 frames a second is driven by the high... Remember, the high silicon chipset is designed for CCTV. There aren't many CCTV applications that need more than 60 frames a second. So this 60 frames a second limit is likely based on the main SoC. Because none of these are really great at more. Although OpenIPC drives the others. Yeah, I can imagine. The board is quite thick. The board is quite thick. And, yeah, I think that there's opportunity to get the weight down a little bit. Overall, I have to say, from a VTX perspective, I got no complaints. Now, I'd love to say I've flown this, and I still haven't, because I've been doing all the bench stuff. And I went to fly it today, and unfortunately, and here's the truth, and I don't understand this, and I have sent CaddX an email, and I think it's been passed on by one of the test channel for me as well. My goggles burnt themselves out today. And I'm going to be crystal clear. It may have been my fault, but it may not have, and I do not know why. And they did it in the field. They weren't apart. And why I'm saying this is this. I had taken the goggles apart and reassembled them prior to this, and they were being used on the bench fine. In fact, I was doing my latency testing on the bench with them, packed it all up, went to work to go to the field, went to the field, opened them up, plugged them in, had them on my head, like this, powered the quad on and went, why have I got no video? I got no video. And I'm sitting here going, I can smell burning. Had a sniff, burny smell. Burny smell. So I come home and I was like, what has gone on there? They were fine. No problem. Perfect. Now, I found something which I don't quite understand failed. And I have shared it with CaddX. There's nothing bad in it, on the hope that this is one of two things. And I've said this is genuine. Either I fucked something up somewhere that I don't know how, I don't know where, that caused something to happen like this, which I'll show you, that I don't understand. Or they may have a little bit of a problem. And that's why I've shared it with them. Because I want to be fair. Because if they've got a bit of a problem, I think they need to get on top of it. It is very, very, weird. And when I say it's weird, I really mean it's weird. And I've never seen something like this before. And I will show you what I mean. Sorry, I'm waiting for my camera to stop wobbling. There are a number of buck regulators in this. There is a 4-buck setup here. And look at this one, right? Can you see the liquid there? This one, randomly at the field, burnt out. Now this is a coil. This is an inductor. Okay? It's open circuit at this point. It is randomly burnt out. Randomly. There is no short on this side. No short at all. Which is why I'm really don't understand what the hell happened. Because if there's no short, why has the coil crapped itself out the side? I had a good look over the board and I was like, what is going on? CaddX battery, everything is CaddX. It was everything correct. But that's on the output. If this was an input problem, I would understand it. That is on the output. It could be bad luck. No short is really weird. And this is what's got me. And this is why I have shared it with CaddX, so they can maybe understand it. Short, no short, but it completely crapped out. And I mean completely crapped out. I started then having a poke at it. You can see here, I poked it because the top had, you could burst the top off. I did some testing. You'll see on this actually here. This is, honestly, genuinely, I came back and I was like, what the fuck has gone on here? So here you can see I'm giving it a poke just to see what's going on the bench. I was like, is that it? Is that off? You can see there's 4 regulators. It's a system management IC. I'm suspicious that it burnt out on power on. And it's overcurrent, is what I'm suspicious of. But it burnt out. You can see there. It's funny, see, I'm worried about inrush. So anyway. I don't know the exact value of it. But I swapped it out for a replacement unit borrowed off an Avatar VTX, I will add. I don't know the exact one it was, but I was in the crap going, well, I don't know what I'm going to do here. So I had a good look through some 03 and 04 air units and going, well, that will fit. That one will do. Let's give it a try. So we swapped it over and they're fine. They power back up absolutely fine. And as I've said, no shorty. Temperature outside is the middle of winter in the UK. They've been on like a minute and a half. It's really weird. Really, really weird. I genuinely don't know. But yeah, very, very strange. But I don't know what the correct value of the coil was. No condensation. No, there's nothing. It was dry. It wasn't wet. It was just literally I plugged them in, put it on top of my head, cable down, plugged the battery in, put it in my pocket, picked up the drone, slid the battery in, powered on the drone. I literally went like that to look down. It was strapped to my head, not my face. It was on my head at the time. Now, look, if I thought I'd done this, I would never have even highlighted it to CaddX. I'd have no benefit sending it to CaddX. I'm just intrigued what's on that line. And I just, look, truth is, we'll know this. If you start seeing loads of people who get these goggles go, my goggles have died and burnt out, we'll know what it is. Or no one else will have a problem, and somehow, somewhere, it decided to fricking let go on the board. Weird, weird, weird. And genuinely weird, weird, weird. I'm just glad it didn't burn the chip. What really confused me is I was like, there's no short. Why is there no short? If that's the thing, why is there no short? The symptoms on the goggles were that they just lose all display. Fan works, but you just don't have any display power at all. It's obviously one of the voltage lines, the 4 on the bottom of the VTX board. Really, really weird. And that's an output. The only way you would burn that coil is overcurrent in my eyes. Now, we have seen it. HD0 was doing this, but HD0 has a coil on the main input. You would see something like this on HD0. For those, in fact, I think I even have it as a repair information on the HD0 VTX. On the Whoop light, especially, the Whoop would burn that coil quite regularly. The Whoop light would take that one out quite regularly. But definitely weird. Weird, weird, weird. But anyways, they're back up and running. I was like, honestly, I couldn't believe it. I went to the field for my first flight in outside. I'd flown it round in here. I went to the first flight and I plugged in. I put it battery in my pocket. In fact, I will even have the audio. As a point, I wonder if you hear the pop on the audio. Because I actually set up my microphone to record me talking on the first flight. Just remembered that. No, I didn't have the 360. I didn't bother. I didn't actually bother with the 360 because I was like, I'll just do the audio. Let's see. I think it's this one. It'll be one of the two. That's muted. Second to the 11th. Yeah, that'll be... Yeah, it'll be this one. Wait a minute. Let me get it. Oh, fuck. Right, here we go. So you're going to get my reaction. So it should be about here. Oh, fuck. Not really much of a reaction. Do I'm intrigued at? That beep. Was that the remote? Is that the noise the remote makes? Yeah. So I did the goggles before the remote. So, goggles would have been here. Okay, we're recording audio. That's me taking the goggles out. And then I've picked up the remote. I think I had the goggles on at this point. I can't remember. I'm intrigued. So that's the battery in. Remote. And now I must have pulled the goggles down. And now I'm getting confused because I'm like, what? Yeah, you can hear the fan. Because the fan ran. And they were already off. I gave them a tap because the screen wasn't coming on. Powered them down. Powered them back on. Off and back on. This is a simple rule. Turns the remote off. I've already given up at this point. I don't know if I picked up the smell because I then was like, oh. I'm curious if there's any more swearing. Usually there would be. The fan was always running, yeah. The fan ran. The board had power. It was only one part of the regulator down. I just want to hear it just to see did anything. No, no more language. Only right at the end. Me powering them back up. Going, trying to understand what's going on. That was quiet for me. I'd usually been swearing by now. Yeah, it's fine now. The goggles are fine now. They're fixed. They're working as normal. Now I've replaced the regulator. The fan's on all the time when you power them.
Well, wow.
Yeah, the fan run all the time. That's the side of me.
Oh, fuck.
Do you know what I did wonder when I came back? Is if it was anything to do with charging the battery. Not that exciting, but you got to hear the realization of me going, huh? What the fuck? In my favourite South Park Where's my favourite South Park? Shady Sushi. In my favourite bit. It don't get better than this.
What the fuck?
That's the number one. Number one. So look, I haven't flown. I've flown inside. I haven't flown outside. I've been away for 3 days. They came in Friday. They came in Thursday. I left Friday morning. Yeah, I'll have a look after. I left Friday morning. I'd done a bunch of stuff Thursday before I went away. Came back this afternoon. Finished the stuff I'd done. Goggles are back together. There's no, there's nothing bad on the goggles. They're fine. They don't smell of burning anymore. But yeah, I don't really understand why the coil let go. Bit weird to say the least. So, Ascent, it was partly charged. This was the only thing that caught me out. I had just had the battery on charge and went out, but it wasn't instant. I had to drive there. I had a 5-minute, 10-minute drive. I don't know if it's a regulated output on the battery, but I did check. The only thing I had... Do you know the only thing I don't know? Here's the truth. I don't know, could this have happened here before I left? Because the only thing I spotted when I went was this. I had the CaddX battery on charge and I had it still connected to the goggles. Not powered on, but still connected to the goggles. Now, the only thing I don't know is if that is related. Now, let's just look at something. Let's just do one thing. Because genuinely... So, the battery is turned off at the moment. Let's come out a bit. Battery's turned off. Let's check the battery. So the battery is off. So I'm going to power the battery on. I don't like how you turn this battery on as well. .9 volt. No, I didn't. It was all plugged in. So 8.9 on. I don't like the battery. I'll be honest with you. There you go. So the battery's off. Now, let me just grab what I used to charge it. And what I used to charge it is vanished. Is it gone? I used my big 20 amp charging battery, which is vanished. I don't know how it's vanished. It's too big to vanish. No, it hasn't. It's here. I use this. I have this USB-C battery. This is a USB-C 20 amp battery. It's a standard USB-C. I did use C to C, so unless there's some stupid power delivery thing, I want to see what the voltages look like. I'll put it on the scope later. I want to really just have a look at what the voltages do while it's on charge. It's basically dead. This meter picks up a little bit on my bench. This bench does have a little bit. There's nothing really going on there. Whilst it was on charge. So if that was all connected to the goggles... Shouldn't do. It's a standard DC jack. So there's nothing... You just Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing specifically there. Let me just have a look at... Nothing weird. It was... The only thing I want to try is, what if the chances are if it was on when I did it? I don't think it was. Let's just see what happens. So powering the battery up. So 8.9 volts. Right. That looks all right. It's moving a little bit, but this... Yeah. That's weird. Battery's now turned off. The battery does turn itself off as well if it's not drawing power. I've noticed that. I don't think it can be reverse current. If I'd have reversed it, I think there'd be a lot more damage than that. Is it possible to reverse it? You can't put it in. And if this isn't on, you can't put it in. If this was on, could you even get it to reverse? Let's try. No, I can't. I'm pushing hard there and I can't get it to reverse. You've got to push it in. 8.9. Yeah, the battery's turned off again. Weird. 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 No, it's 2S. It's a 2S battery. Now the goggles say weird. No, there's no communication. It's just a DC jack. There's nothing there. I think it just looks for current draw. Yeah, it'll be 18650s in that. So you'll be looking at, well, it'll be 2S, so it'll be 4.1. I don't know what the maximum voltage of this battery is. I haven't checked it. I'm going to predict it knows how to charge itself properly. Even on a charger like this. If it can't charge itself on this. This is a proper power delivery compatible USB 20 amp charge. They could be 21700s. It's a bit small for 21700s. I wouldn't be shocked if it's custom cells. Because in the remote controller, it's a pouch cell. It's not an 18650 in the remote. For those who haven't seen inside the remote's got a pouch cell in it. A 1S pouch cell. Weird. Weird, weird, weird. Yeah, the remote's got a pouch cell in it, so it could even be a pouch cell in this. I don't know. I've not torn the battery down. It does feel like it'll come apart. I'll be honest. The plastic moves. Overhead. I can actually get... Where's my plastic tool? Because I can get that open. That feels like that will open. I can get my finger in there. Oh. Ah, there we go. I can get into the battery. One moment, please, caller. Don't even think I need tools to get into the battery at this point. What should be the DJI battery? Haha, there's a screw hole. There it is. There you go. What if CaddX fell out with you for doing this? They don't talk to me. I bought this. They didn't send it to me. Everything you see here was bought. I don't really give a shit what CaddX think. Don't like that. I know it's enamel. I know it's an enamel. But I don't like that. I do not like that at all. Why is that not covered? I know it's the temp sensor, but it's bridging caps. If the enamel cover comes off, that's over the top of caps. What the fuck? What the actual fuck? I think it's just a temp sensor. Yeah, I agree. My issue is, in vibrations, out in the field, that vibrates back and forth, whizzes off the surface of the enamel and shorts out the cap on either side. Remember, this battery is going to be tossed around in people's pockets. That needs to be covered. All the way down. Holy shite. Sorry, that was me. I do not like that at all. I do not like that at all. That just, it needs some cover or something. Someone saying CaddX sent this to me. No, I bought this drone kit with my own money. CaddX have had no involvement in this at all. I bought this from a retailer. Was not sent to me by CaddX, was not paid to me by CaddX. CaddX have had no involvement at all. Just have a look at the chipset for the battery. So there you go. Solder tags on the... So they're welded, not soldered. So it's tag welded. I get it's not going to be very high current. A bit more light on that. Four on that one. Can you tag weld onto that? I guess you can. I've never tried it. Lifted corner does look a little bit shoddy. How do we look at the top? On this side. Could you tag weld to the PCB? I guess you could. Or have they soldered a bit of metal on it and then tag welded? Big coil in the middle there. Oh, everything else, I just don't like that. I'm okay with everything else, but I fucking don't like that at all. So much so, I'm covering that. I ain't fucking using that like that. I am not using that like that. XT30's not too bad. That's all right. It's just a bunch of solder. That, on the other hand, that needs Captain tape all the way down and covering that over before that goes back on. That is not happening. Find my roller Captain tape, one moment. Missing. Okay, I'll have to do that after. It's not where I thought it was. Oof, fucking hell. Yeah, you could just shorten the enamel wire on that. To be honest, yes. You are right. You could absolutely just shorten the enamel wire and just take it straight up there. Just go wee to there. To be honest, you just come straight over the top. Job done. I am... not comfortable with that in any way. So much so, what worries me is in use, in vibrations, they're going to rub back and forth over time. Battery that goes in a pocket. Rub the enamel off the surface. Shorty short, battery goes on fire. We have seen batteries with issues on airlines. We've seen issues. I can't decide if that is shocking or am I overplaying that. Look, it's not touching there, but that is How much do you vibrate? Yes, you are right. We have seen Lewis Rossman do repairs across whole boards with enamel wire. You are right. I just don't like it because it's a battery. It's not the voltage that's the issue. It's the current this pack can carry. Remember, 218-650 cells can dump out a chunk of current. Sorry. It's shocking. Yeah. You are right. Enamel wire, as you say, is used over boards. I've seen it used all sorts of places. You have to balance one versus the other. Yes. It's probably okay. But that I don't feel I certainly can't say that's acceptable. That is, I would question if it would get those labels. For anyone who watched Linus talk about, they did some testing on their machine of batteries that were going on fire. And it doesn't take a lot. It just doesn't take a lot to cause a big problem. Do you know what the funny thing is in this? And here's the funny thing. I don't work with CaddX anymore. But this is what you would find out if they would find out if they did. They're going to find out now because it's public. So, you know, but running stuff through, everything should be fucking ripped apart. There's a reason I tear everything down. To have a look at what's going on. And, you know. Well, that's a public one because it was bought in the UK. It was bought from a UK. It was bought as from a retailer. It's not glue. They need to be covered. They should either be heat shrink covered with a length down that board, shorter, or caption tape over the top of the caps. At minimum, captain tape. They're relying on a micron of enamel not to burn down someone's house. That's the problem. This is production, so if it's, that's why I tear everything down. This is production, so if mine's like it, there's no reason. Mine isn't test. Mine isn't really. Mine's production product bought off the shelf, paid for. Yeah, even yeah, you are right. Even a dab of silicone glue just to keep it off the board might have helped. It is just, yeah, it's disappointing. It's disappointing when that fucking thing can go on fire. That's the problem. That is the goggle battery, yeah. Hey ho. Now I have to make a decision. Because that's a safety issue. And now I've got to decide if it warrants a PSA Yes, it does. Because it's on the main tract of the battery. That I can't not. I don't know why I'm even trying to talk myself out of it. That's complete bullshit. That can't happen. You cannot do that. You're relying on enameled wire, bridging over the top of caps running up either side. It was a pretty decent battery tract up the side. You had all the caps coming up. It was the tract going up from one side of the cells, yeah. Don't know what the charge rate is. It's probably where I've put the screw through. So the worst thing is, why is it always the same company? Because I'm the guy that feels like I'm the bad guy. Oh yeah, no, that's caps running up the side of the bat. If you look at what that was, if you look at what that is, trying to get the cover off. If you actually look at what that is overhead, boop. Okay, let's just do this under the micro because I can't really get enough on that. What looks like is, let's just have a look up that side. So if you look, so that's BAT plus. Yeah, it's across BAT, VBAT plus and ground. Okay, so let's get my meter. Fucking hell. Let's turn that off. Sorry, that's the light from the microscope. So I'm trying not to cover the display of the meter so you guys can see. There you go. Okay, what are we at? Ah, yeah, it's across a cell. There you go. It's only across the whole pack voltage at all times. It's not even just when the battery's on. Unregulated, VBAT, all the fucking time. Ah. So it would short across the top of the cap, across unregulated VBAT, that runs all the way up, ground on the outside, full battery voltage, VBAT plus, on the inside. Shorting the cells directly. Oh, great. Well, ladies and gentlemen, on that bombshell, I'm lost for words. Right, before we finish this up, I got two things I want to show you guys. Okay, so very quickly, I need to get my head out of this and fucking figure out what I'm gonna do. That's dangerous, unacceptable. So much so that should not be used. That simple. That battery is dangerous. This battery could short out and potentially cause a fire. So much so it is full VBAT across the wires, simply saved by a little bit of enamel. It's amazing how often... Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay. Wow. I just read that last comment. That's bad, but yeah, you lightened my humour tone, my mood. Right, two things we're going to do. Right. That's what happens when you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Right, very quickly. Prusa have released the Core 1L, a new big printer, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but we do talk about Bamboo, so I should talk about Prusa. Prusa have released the Core Prusa Core 1 you had before, which was Prusa's, because I got accused today of being, well, I said I was a Bamboo shill, but I was told today, well, why don't you talk about new Prusa printers or sales? Well, I will if they do something, and they've done something. They have released the No, they haven't. They've released the Core 1L, a bigger version of the Core 1, a printer I would love to try on the channel, but I don't have the money to go and spend 1,200 quid on one, and they don't want to send me one to review, so I can't even tell you that much about it, because I can't afford to spend £1,200 on a printer just to do a review on. It's just not possible. I would love to try the Prusa models, but £1,200. I'm more than happy to have a loan unit and send back. I'm not even asking to have to keep it. But, Jesus, I cannot afford to spend that money on a printer to review. They've released the Core 1L, which sits size-wise somewhere between a H2, and the P and X series. It sits in the middle. It's not as big as the H2, and it's not as small as the X and P series. It's basically 300mm bed compared to 325 versus 256. It is a lot of money. It does, though, have, according to their marketing material, some real good security features. And genuinely, if this is important to you, it can run fully offline. You can even remove the Wi-Fi adapter. You can even buy a version where they don't populate the board for that compatible hardware, which means it can never go online. They even make that version. So if that's important to you, that has those options. Genuinely, Prusa are really doing some good work. Bamboo printers can work offline, but you lose some functionality with Bamboo offline. Not that it won't print, it will print. They have LAN mode. But you don't have all of the features. Some of them you could, but they don't give you when you're in offline mode. Prusa have a full offline mode, as Bamboo has a full offline mode. So Bamboo also have a full offline mode. You can print on the P2S behind me on SD card only. It's your choice. But I believe the Prusa gives you, on the local network mode, I haven't tried it, so I can't comment. And this is really hard for me because I can't tell you because I haven't fucking used it. I would love to give the Core 1L a try. Genuinely would love to see what they're doing. It's a big printer. It's nice to see they're still doing it. They talk a lot about the print bed as well. Very even temperature. This one, for the first time, is unpack and print. You don't need to calibrate it. Bamboo, the P2S, was about 35 minutes of calibrations when I first got it. It was quite a while. I like what I see. I like what I see. There is nothing bad for me to say here other than the price. You're paying a lot more money for a European printer. I still fundamentally don't understand where the hell is the multi-tool version of this. Prusa got multi-tool before anyone else in the market properly. Yet we don't see it. Yes, we're meant to have Bondtech come in for these eventually whenever it launches. Middle of next year, by the look of it at this rate. But yeah, look, really, really interesting. I just struggle to understand why they have not delivered a multi-tool in this. I just don't get it. So, it is out there. It's looking cool. Right, the last thing to quickly talk about, and there will be a review video coming, is on this. Because I had it in it, and I don't want to miss it. This is the FlySky PA01. Now, they have sent me a bit of a customized version of this. I didn't realize until I opened the box earlier. I will do a review on this. This is looking like a very interesting radio. I have to say, I really like what I've seen so far here. I haven't powered it on. I haven't tested it. I haven't used it. It literally came in 2 days ago. I'll talk about the printers. I'll answer the printer questions in a minute. But this is the PA01. You can see they've done a customized version that has my name on it. That's very kind of them. So they've probably checked it over. I will say it's got a lovely feel in the hands. Honestly. Really nice feel in the hands. I'm not sure how I feel about these. They've not much throw on them. They're metal. Pull the antenna, someone said. Pull the antenna. There we go. You can rotate it, tilt it up and down. Very cool. Very cool indeed. I like that. It feels solid. Someone just said it looks solid. Honestly, it feels solid as well. It has a real nice feel in the hands. You get it there. Gimbals are small. Not a lot of throw on them at all. Metal roller wheel. Nice click. Yes, the sticks are on the back. Two threes. Latching. Momentary. You've got 2 buttons on the back. I tell you what, it feels really nice in the hand. I genuinely have to say, yeah, you know what? It does feel like a pocket on steroids, this. It really does. So look, it literally has just come in. Haven't even powered it on. Here's something funny I meant to say to you, by the way, on the Protos. See this? Look on the Protos remote. Where'd you put your neck strap? Anyone got any ideas? Learning FPV, where does your neck strap go? Now, it doesn't come with EdgeTX as standard, but you can flash it with EdgeTX. And you can flash it with Express LRS as well, I believe. No battery in it yet. So, very, very nice. You're going to have to wait for the review. But I like a lot so far. It is Express LRS compatible. So you can flash the module with Express LRS. How does it feel with the sticks? It's got my name on it too. Quite long sticks. Feels all right. You know what? I'm intrigued. Hybrid pinch. You can change the sticks though, I guess. They're not very... They're not very... Yes, they can be extended. They've got a nut on the bottom of them as well. Lot to look at. Very interesting. So I just wanted to show you guys quickly, because I like what I see. And look at the colours on this. I like that. That's awesome. This is one of the more interesting radios than I've seen for a very long time. Very long time. So I need to test it. I need to try it. I will be talking about it, but I just wanted to show you it quickly. Right, someone said 3D printers. P1S is a great deal right now. What was that? P1S is a great deal right now. No reason not to consider it if you don't need engineering filaments. It really is a great deal. Right, guys. I'm going to wrap this one up here tonight. Don't worry, that was the CaddX battery exploding. I don't know what that was. I'm now a bit worried. I don't know what that was. Yeah, Black Friday. Bamboo have some deals. Lots of people will have deals. Don't forget to give us a like. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. I've now got to go and figure out what the hell I'm going to do about this battery. I got to send another email to fucking CaddX, that's for starters. Look after yourselves. Stay safe. I will speak to you soon. Sometimes. Why? 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 Why?